If we purely look at history, Donald J. Trump not releasing the Epstein files could single-handedly see the ruin of his presidential term, and it could go down as one of the worst presidential terms in United States history. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's done some good stuff already. Going to sit here and say some bad stuff already. I think that really depends on your political views. I would say he's definitely done some good stuff, cleaned up some stuff at the border and stuff like that. But that's not what this video is about. The video is about him not releasing the Epstein files. And what do I mean by history? When I'm talking about history, I'm meaning about events that presidents have sanctioned that they know were wrong. The public knew it was very bad, but yet the presidents came out and publicly apologized. And when presidents come out and publicly apologize over a matter that the public hates, the public knows it's wrong, but the president steps up and takes credit for it, more times than not, the people forgive the U.S. president. We saw this with John F. Kennedy and the Bay of Pigs invasion. He stood up, took credit for the Bay of Pigs invasion, and the U.S. Population forgave him. Same thing happened with Ronald Reagan. He came up with the Iran-Contra affair. He did a semi-apology, close enough. The entire thing was forgiven. The U.S. public completely forgave him. The only way that Donald Trump sees this one out, the only way that this does not ruin his entire reputation, is if he publicly comes out and makes the files public, and or he publicly comes out and gives a very extraordinarily, absorbently amount, good enough reason, maybe even good enough for God, why these files should not be released. Those are the only two options. If Donald Trump does not do one of those two options within the next, I would say, 1 to 2 weeks, his presidential term could be completely ruined. Now, I'm not like sitting here and saying this off of political terms, like, like the Democrats, the Republicans, some are going to see it. Everybody, even it will go down in the history books as one of the worst terms in presidential history because of this single matter. I am telling you, we have seen it in the history books. History is repeating itself right now. What Donald Trump has to do is come out to the public and apologize for his not leadership, his lack of leadership capabilities, especially when it comes to this subject matter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you his Truth Social post when he talks about the Jeffrey Epstein files, and you are going to see just how bad it is. What's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We are on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have an imperfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it, all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein, over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brenna, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration, who coined the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me. And now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files if there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement? Why didn't they use it? They haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. files. No matter how much success we have securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have nuclear weapons, it's never enough for some people. We are about to achieve in more than 6 months than the other administration has achieved in over 100 years, and we have so much more to do. We are saving our country and making America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen. And they tried to do the same thing in 2024. That is why she's looking into as AG as much more. 1 year as our country was dead, now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, what I'm going to first stay off, which is true. Donald Trump's presidency, up until this point, I think it has been very productive. A very positive presidency. I would say you could argue, I mean, either way. Honestly, I don't think you could argue either way. I think it has been a very positive, very good presidency so far. But more times than not, when we look in the history books, presidential terms are more coined off of their negatives than their positives. We look at Grant. Grant completely cracked down on the KKK, almost eliminating it completely. But yet, the whiskey ring scandal and the other scandals that completely plagued his presidential terms, that's all anybody remembers Grant for now. He was honestly one of the greatest presidents in the United States history that we ever had without his scandals. But all anybody remembers is his scandals. So with that being said, nobody cares about what you did. Nobody cares about what you're going to do. All anybody cares about are how bad these scandals are, all the negatives. How big is the negative? A big enough negative can outweigh an infinite number of positives. That's just how it works, and especially when you're reviewing presidential terms. Now, the biggest thing that I see here, the first thing that jumps out at me, immediately, the reason that he explains for not releasing the Epstein files is because they were coined by the Democrats. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that some of the stuff Donald Trump says, like the stolen election and all that stuff, isn't true. I'm sure some of the stuff that he says, it is true. Some of it might have a little bit of conspiracy theory tone, but I do believe that some of these stuff that he says is true. But what he just said, that the Epstein files were written by the Democrats, that is the biggest load of crap I have ever heard in my entire life living on this planet. The Epstein files were written by professionals and law keepers of business. They were not written by any sort of political stretch of imagination. And he does make a good point. Why didn't the Democrats release the Epstein files? Because everybody in Washington, D.C. is on the files. That's why you're never going to see them release. And ultimately, it's unfolding under Donald Trump's presidency. So guess who's going to take the blame for it? Donald Trump. This has been a problem for, even going back for about 2 years now, even going back into Joe Biden's administration, it has been a problem about releasing the Epstein files and stuff like that. But guess what happens when it goes under one administration? It stops at the buck. As Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, the president takes accountability for all things that happen in the United States of America. And if Donald Trump does not do something to fix this, he's going to be in deep trouble. And I also want to take a look at one more thing before I come off of here. It's the Attorney General office. Now, at the beginning, he said Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing her job. I completely disagree. The Attorney General job, as stated by Justice.gov, a United States of America website, the Judiciary Act of 1789 created the Office of Attorney General, which evolved over the years into the head of the Department of Justice and Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the federal government. The Attorney General represents the United States in legal matters generally and gives advice and opinions to the President and to the heads of executive departments of the government when so requested. In matters of exceptional gravity or importance, the Attorney General appears in person before the Supreme Court before the 1870 Act that established the Department of Justice as an executive department of the government of the United States. The Attorney General has guided the world's largest law office and federal agency for enforcement and federal laws. So basically, it is an attorney for the United States of America that is seeking justice. You're telling me that everybody in Washington, D.C., including Pam Bondi, is doing her absolute best to ensure that there is justice brung to the people on these files and the people that visited this island? No, Pam Bondi is doing jack squat. You know why? Because everybody in Washington, D.C., probably even she might be on the list. And why is she going to release it? Because she would get fired, clobber blasted. You would see a string of assassinations. Whoever releases this list, instantly assassinated. Their family members, instantly assassinated. Colleagues, instantly assassinated. What's either going to happen? Either Donald Trump is going to come out and give a reason why he can't release them. Someone is going to release them and then get assassinated. Or literally nothing will happen. Those are your three options, and that's what we're going to see. Now, will we see this? How long will it take? Could take a couple years, could take a week, could take a day. Nobody knows. But I've made multiple videos on this already, on the Epstein situation. But honestly, it is one of the greatest cover-ups in the United States history, and one of the greatest cover-ups in my lifetime. Donald Trump and everybody in Washington, D.C. is on the list. That's why they're not going to release it. It's as simple as that. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's just common sense at this point. With that being said, this video is taking up too much time, which you could probably, explaining stuff which you could probably figure out by yourself. But with that being said, stay safe, stay hydrated, and whatever you do, don't believe everything that the government tells you. Because as we come to find, the government lies about just about everything that makes them look good. With that being said, stay safe and stay hydrated.